Hi everyone, I'm Tricia Morris from Club Scrap, and I hope you're ready to craft with me today. I've got the Ever After card kit here, and we are going to be making a series of, believe it or not, 18 cards from this beautiful set of paper and embellishments. And the reason we have 18 cards here is because we're using basically the same paper makeup as the page kit, and it has 16 sheets of 12 by 12. So that's why we're able to get so much out of this. And the beauty, again, as with all of our formulas, is that you can repeat these same cutting instructions with papers that you have in your stash and create even more cards with these clever trimming formulas. So making cards the Club Scrap way is certainly the most efficient way. So here's the plan. We'll take all of these papers and put them in the order that we'll be trimming them. And as we go, we'll put them in a series of 3 pockets, one for each set of cards, A, B, C. And if you don't have this accordion pocket file, and we can help get you set up with one of these, but if you don't have it now, it's okay. Just make 3 piles, A, B, and C. Once we get everything trimmed and prepped, we'll work with the cards one set at a time, and those are divided like that in our instructions as well. So we can make it through the trimming, and then here is set A, B, and C, and the outside and inside of every card is pictured here in the instructions. So this is a wonderful tool for you to follow. So, as I said, we'll sort the paper in the order in which we'll use it. So I'm just looking at these trimming diagrams and reading off the colors that are called for so we can get the paper in order and avoid mistakes. I find the best way to look at the paper is to hold it in the crook of my arm so I can view it from the top edge, and that way it's easy to sort through everything. And I want you to find one of what's called the sea green. This is pretty close to the bottom of my stack. I'm not sure where it is for you. This is the paper with that absolutely stunning texture. I'll put that on top of my trimmer here and then dig for 1 sheet of the craft. Extremely heavyweight. This is 100-pound cover weight paper. Then a piece of the manila, same thing, super heavyweight here. And then finally 1 white plane. This is only 80-pound cover. It still is a beautiful stock. Okay, then I'm going to have you dig for the pine green, just 1. And this sheet has a beautiful linen-like texture. Next, from the top of the stack, our first print, the script print, and I'll place that face down on my trimming pile. So the script print just has that writing on the right edge there. That's how you'll be able to tell that. And then the greenery print, that's near the top. This is what that one looks like, face down on the trimmer. And the base of the script is ivory. The base of the greenery is white. So we've mixed both ivory and white in this collection, which I love. Okay, then we're looking for the next craft plane. That's that really heavy one. It's so pretty. Then an ivory plane. So that should be, if you're not sure, look for the white and then you'll know that you got the correct one, the ivory, followed by the next sea green, and then it's basically all the rest. So we've got pine, white, ivory, manila, greenery print, and a script print. Notice I'm putting those prints face down. And then you have a series of 3 cut aparts. So the first one I'll be working with is the one that has almost all the panels are the same size. Okay, that'll be, and one of them says, this one says life is a journey, and has this strip down the end here. Next, look for the one that has the word "May the love you share" right here at the top. Put that face down, and then of course the last one that has this big strip on the right edge. Okay, so now the paper is in the order that we'll be trimming it. Let's begin with the sea green, and we need to find the grain direction of the paper since eventually this is going to be folded. Now, if you're new to finding grain direction, you just simply hold the paper by an edge and wiggle it a little bit. See if it's stiff or flexible. Then rotate 1 turn and hold it by the other edge. And one of those 2 edges is going to be way more flexible, way more wiggly than the other. So I want this paper to wiggle easily from top to bottom when I place this in the trimmer, because eventually I want to fold the paper in this direction. Okay, and then if you want, you can take another sheet, the craft, and do your wiggle test again, top to bottom. That's how I want it dipping. And we're going to trim these both at the same time. Okay, we're going to cut at 11 3/4. So that's way over here, 11 3/4. Make sure you're not looking at the centimeters, but you're looking at the inches, and it's almost to the 12. We're just going to take off 1/4 of an inch from the edge here. Always make sure that you're level at the top and you're stabilizing, especially with these 2 sheets of really heavyweight paper. Then slide the paper down to 6 1/4. And since this piece is going to be scored, I'm going to set that aside. I'm not going to file it or put it on a pile. But then the next strip, I'm going to place in the trimmer horizontally. This is currently 5.5 by 12. And we'll cut this at 8.5. Now this piece is also going to be scored, so that gets set aside. And then the last rectangle we'll trim at 4 3/4. So I'm going to take this and these little guys and put them all in pocket A. Those are panels for my first set of cards. And then these little scraps, I'm going to keep them because I did end up using quite a few of my scraps. So all my scraps are going to go in the D pocket if you have the accordion pocket file. And the D stands for didn't use for now. Then a manila. We're going to trim this one the same way. So check your flappiness top to bottom. The next sheet in my sorted stack is white. Ooh, that's really, see the flop? That goes this way. All right, we'll repeat. So 11 3/4 again. And 6 1/4. All right, score pile. Pick up the next sheet, trim horizontally at 8.5. And score pile. This one we'll trim horizontally at 4 3/4. And gather up both the larger and smaller pieces. Those go in pocket A, and these are added to pocket D. And next we'll trim the pine green. This one is just a single. Check your floppiness, and we're going to place it in the trimmer once again where it flops easily from top to bottom. And if you're wondering how I know this information, I do add an arrow to the instruction document. That just means the direction of the dip needs to be top to bottom. In this case, we're going to trim at 5 3/4. Then rotate the piece we just created and cut at 8 and 4. All 3 of these panels go in pocket B. And this piece will be set aside to be scored. Next, we're going to take that script print, and because I can see into the future, I'm going to have you place this into the trimmer so that it dips easily top to bottom, but also if the grain cooperates, I want the script on the left, so the print will essentially be upside down. Now, I didn't specify this in the instructions because I didn't know if during the printing process, if the paper will get turned one way or another. So the most important default is that it dips easily top to bottom, and if it's the case where you can place the script on the left, go for it. I'm going to trim at 11.5 and 5 1/4. Rotate this 5 1/4 and trim at 8 and 4. And then place all of these panels in pocket A. This larger piece will be scored. And there is a 1/2 inch piece if you would like, and this is kind of optional. I just like to use things and tell you where I use them. Just trim horizontally at 6, and these will go in pocket B. All right, here we take the greenery print. This one, it does not matter how it goes into the trimmer from a grain direction, so therefore I want you to place this in the trimmer so that, let's see, this really, really dark green corner is in the lower left corner of your trimmer base. We'll trim at 11 1/4 and 6. All right, now rotate, and we'll cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. That's nice. You have a little bit of greenery on every piece, and all 4 of these panels, along with the little strip, can go in pocket B. Again, the little strip is sort of a bonus. This next larger section will trim horizontally at 8 and 4. These 3 pieces will go in pocket A, and you can take the remaining strip. We'll use it, but I'm going to put it in D for now. For our craft piece, this time the paper needs to dip easily from left to right, because eventually we'll be folding this paper in that direction. All right, 11 1/4 and 8 1/2. 8 1/2. Now rotate, and we'll cut at 11 and 5 1/2. Now, these 2 pieces will grow up to become card bases, so I'll set those aside to be scored. And this long strip, pocket D. That leaves me with this 2 3/4 by 12. We're just going to trim that in half at 6. Nice and easy. Those will go in pocket B. And this narrow strip D for now. And we're moving on to the ivory. The orientation of trim replacement doesn't matter. Nothing will be folded. These are going to be panels, and we'll trim at 11 1/2, 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. Now take the 2 pieces you just created. They should be the same size. Stack them together neatly and trim them horizontally at 6. Pocket B. This last section here, this is 3 by 12. This one we're going to trim it horizontally at 8 and 4. And all 3 of these also go in pocket B. And the last strip here goes in D. Continuing on, the sea green, doesn't matter which way it goes in. We'll cut at 9, 4 1/4. Rotate, trim at 6. These 2 rectangles, pocket B. And then you have another strip. This is 4 3/4 by 12 right now. Let's trim this at 10 1/2, 7, and 3 1/2. Okay, so let's stack up these 3 panels that are the same, plus the little guy. All of that goes in pocket A. Once more, this final strip horizontally, trim at 8 and 4. Moving right along, this goes in pocket B. And take the pine green. Check your grain. I want it going top to bottom again. And then this next one, top to bottom. The next, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces get trimmed the same way, and with them we're going to make 6 5 by 7 cards. This was sort of added at the end of what I thought this kit was going to be. I had all these extra sheets of paper. All right, let's trim at 11 3/4 and 7. So there's that 7 for the 5 by 7 card. Now rotate and cut at 10. Set aside to be scored, and then you have the 2 by 7 here. You're going to have this memorized by the time you're done. And then we'll cut this horizontally at 6 3/4, and this goes in pocket C. There is 2 minuscule pieces. You can definitely put those in the circular file. And now trim the remaining 4 3/4 inch strip at 9 1/2 and 6 3/4. All right, this goes in C, and the next pair of rectangles goes in C as well. But the next pair of rectangles that you trimmed, this is only 2 1/2 inches wide. This gets trimmed horizontally at 4 1/2. Pocket C as well. Did a lot of nesting with that one. It's just really a neat structure. Again, those are scraps. Let's repeat this now with the ivory. So we're going to dip top to bottom. I always like to compare. That's really flexible. This is quite flexible too, going this way. Oh, I'm sorry, forgot to mention, you have the 2 narrow strips. I'm going to pocket those in D. And we're repeating this now. So it's the same drill. 11 3/4. You're going to be so good at this. And 7. Rotate. 10. score, trim at 6 3/4, pocket C. Everything from this set goes in C. Okay, we got some more scraps here. Garbage. This strip, 9 1/2, 6 3/4. Large rectangles, medium rectangles, pocket C. Small rectangle will trim at 4 1/2. Pocket C. Scrap. Pocket D for later. Keeping on, keeping on. Let's check our grain direction here. Dipping top to bottom. This one doesn't really matter. Greenery print. I think I'm going to have you put it in so it's right side up, if that's the way the grain goes. The grain, again, gets the priority. But this is going to be my card base. This is going to be panels. That's why I'm choosing it that way. Okay, so 11 3/4 again. 7. And we're trimming 2 prints at the same time. Let's not screw this up. Rotate. And 10. Score. And we'll trim this at 6 3/4. Pocket C. Scraps. Okay, here we go. This shouldn't really matter which way, as long as it's horizontal. We'll start at 9 1/2, 6 3/4. Large and then medium rectangles, pocket C again, and a trim at, do you remember, 4 1/2. Pocket C and scraps, and the strips we'll keep in pocket D. There's something we have to do with each cut apart, and if you're familiar with Club Scrap, go ahead and do this. If you're new, just listen up here. We've got the little X or plus sign in the corners of all of these pieces. So what I need you to do is put that in your trimmer so that this mark is right up against the blade, so that we remove approximately 1/8 of an inch from the outside edge of this entire piece. So that happens, so then you just rotate now 1 turn and repeat. So align that little hash mark with the edge of your trimmer blade as accurately as you can. And now I see I need to make a little correction here on this one. It's a nice part about this trimmer. You can really shave a hair, which is nice. Now I'm looking over here. I can see 12 inches on my 3rd rotation. And then I'll rotate again at 12. Dispose of the little edges that you removed. And now we're starting with a nice 12 by 12. In the manufacturing process, because of the nature of this paper, it can slip a little bit inside the commercial high volume trimmers. So that's why we allow that bleed a little bit so that we can do it more accurately ourselves. And I want you to place this in the trimmer so that the single long strip is on the right, and we'll cut at 11 1/4. Then 7 1/2. Before each cut, you can double check to make sure that your blade's going to go through the opening between the art pieces. And then 3 3/4. If it's going through the art, something's wrong. Okay, now rotate, and we'll cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. Okay, so now you can take the 4 rectangles that are the same. Those are going to go in pocket B, and then we have a strip. Now if you'd like, you can take the next 2 pieces, and only if you feel comfortable, and because they get trimmed the same. 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, and 2 3/4. You can gather up all of these rectangles. They go in pocket B again, and then you have 2 scraps for pocket D. Didn't use them quite yet. And the same for this long strip. I did pretty much use all of those scraps, which I think is cool. I mean, it's just such an efficient way of using our materials. It's just use them all. I'm going to repeat the same thing to remove the perimeter with the guides allowing me to kind of get a nice clean cut from the edge here. Okay, rotate again so that these narrow strips are on the right. It should say happy anniversary, and we'll cut at 9, 7 1/4, and 4 1/4. Rotate and cut at 9, 6, and 3. All right, all 4 of these same size panels go in pocket A. And then we'll pick up this next strip. There are 2 narrow pieces on the right. Trim at 10 1/4, 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. These 2 pieces will be placed in pocket A, and then the congratulations are also inside sentiments for cards in set A. Then this next strip, this is easy. We'll cut at 9, 6, all nice whole numbers, and 3. And all of these go in pocket A. And lastly, this is fun, all the even numbers. So 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. All of these are used in pocket B. One more sheet, my friends, and then we can proceed with our card making. Go ahead and remove the little edges from the perimeter. Okay, so this one is essentially a scrap, but I'm going to go ahead and just eyeball to try to trim this before the white seam. So it's a little past 10. And then, so that gives me a nice little strip here. You can go ahead and put that in pocket D and use it where you wish, but it's just a beautiful piece. Okay, then it looks like it needs to be cut at, yeah, this is 10. Okay, so I cut at 10 and then 7 3/4, 5 1/2, and 3 1/4. Rotate and we'll do it 8 and 4, and all of these go in pocket C. Next, the next 3 are trimmed the same way, so if you want, you could do them all at once. I'm going to go for it. Let's cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. Just make sure nothing gets moved here. Okay, so gather all of those pieces up and they all go in pocket C. And that, my friends, marks the end of the trimming, and now we're going to move on to scoring. I do find it helpful to organize all of the papers that need to be scored in order by size, and if we just went smallest to largest. And if you haven't done that already, just put me on pause and go ahead and do that. I also have my score pile here and a ball tip stylus to help me with the scoring process. Since most of these are just being folded in half, it's not a big deal to have this, but I do like to have it, especially with these heavier weight papers. So all of the papers that measure 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 should be placed into the score pile horizontally and scored at 4 1/4. And handy is that there is a little asterisk on the score pile at that measurement, since that's such a common measurement. So, and if it has a print, I don't know that any of these are, the print should be facing up when you score at 4 1/4. These are all the card bases for set A, so if you want to file them, my pockets are pretty full, but you can go for it. Next, these are the 5 by 7 cards. So these should be 10 by 7 when they're placed in print side up. Score just at 5. And repeat for all of those 7 by 10s. These will go in pocket C. These are the largest cards. Longest cards are going to be smaller than those 5 by 7s. And these, I have some interesting thoughts about scoring these, but on this particular one, this print, I'm going to have you score it with the print side facing down. And we will score at 3 and 7.5. And then the other ones don't really matter so much. 3, 7.5. And repeat for all the remaining cards. These are just going to be too big to put into the pocket for set B, so I'm just going to set them aside and get rid of my score pal. And now the fun begins. I'm taking everything out of pocket A, and I will assure you that it would be much, much easier to figure everything out if you sorted all these elements by size. Isn't that a beautiful pile of card making fun right there? So of course we'll be starting with our card bases and then just sort of stack everything by size so that it will be easier to see how things come together. So that's pretty good. And then of course you'll want to turn to the appropriate page in your instructions so you can see what's going on for all of these 4 by 5.25 inch cards, or 4.25 by 5.5 inch cards rather. Then if you just take a moment or two to go ahead and fold these card bases in half and burnish each card with the bone folder to solidify that fold, especially because these are this heavyweight cardstock. Now here we've arrived at what I call the deal. So the first card that I see in my picture here is made of this sea green. So I'll put that vertically at the top, followed by another vertical craft and another vertical craft. Maybe I'll put these in a row here. Next I have a horizontal craft, a horizontal manila, and a horizontal ivory. So I'm just looking at the card base itself to get things rolling. Next, I'm going to distribute the largest remaining panels in the stack. So I'll put that print there. That's really pretty. And I'll put this one facing up from what I can tell. This one like so. Maybe this leafy one. Oh, I just hate covering this up, any of this. It's just so beautiful. Okay, now the next size down. Got all of these panels, so it looks like I used a craft. And all I'm doing is alternating colors. Is there a right or a wrong answer here? Absolutely not. You can do it however you wish. It's just that I tried to vary the color, sort the color, and I wanted to mention that this extra white panel I'm going to be using on the inside of this sea green card to give you a better writing surface for your internal greeting. Now, how's that for thinking of everything, right? Okay, now it's time for the sentiments. Actually, I think maybe now is the time I can distribute a few of these little strips because those are going to go under the sentiments. So that's an anchor there. This green can go here. This one could go here. It's white. So I put the manila with manila, white with white. Oh, I got these swapped. Forgive me. The this one goes on the craft and this one goes here and then this is added. My apologies. Like I said, you can't do it wrong. I just want to make it the variety of interchangeable colors. Okay, so now together is a beautiful place to be. It is indeed. Well, you take 2 of those. Then the remaining one is to love, laughter, and happily ever after on the remaining vertical. Then may the love you share, to love, laughter, and happily ever after. And then may the love you share also. Inside, we'll do, how about a happy anniversary here? Happy anniversary here. Congratulations, 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 congratulations. Lovely. Okay, so now everything has been distributed to these beautiful card bases and we can stack them up. And since these cards, creating them is simply a matter of adhering everything onto the card bases and then adding a sentiment to the inside. I mean, it couldn't be more easy than this. I think our time is best used to just simply review these finished card samples to give you a good idea of how these cards were done. Now, I don't have all of my finished samples here. I only have 3 of each card, but obviously every finished card is pictured here and all of these finishing steps are very basic. Just to give you an idea though, one special thing I did with these cards is, do you see the raised line on the outside of this sea green panel? all I did was scored the perimeter of it. So I'll quick show you on one of these panels here. I'm just going to grab this craft colored panel from the top of my stack here. And they were scored at 1/8 of an inch, and I am right-handed. Now, if you're left-handed, score from this side. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put the paper just in the very top right corner and score on the very, very last notch. I'm going to grab my, like this, rotate, score, and the very last notch. So that official measurement on the board would be 11 7/8. That's it. So now that this is scored, it just kind of has this really classy perimeter around there so that when you do add it to your card, that's going to be so pretty. A simple, simple thing. On some of these, I scored on that little tiny band as well at 1/8 of an inch from the edge. To adhere that Mr. and Mrs. laser cut word, our bookbinding glue, of course, I always keep mine in a needle tip applicator. That's what I use to glue it on. Let's see, on this one, just wrap the corner, did the scoring trick all the way around. I did that on all of them because it was just so effective. And then, of course, add ribbon. Just make sure you plan for the ribbon before you nest everything together. And those are the simple set A cards. And often what I do is just take all of the pieces and put them in an A2 envelope. They wouldn't even fit because there's so many. You could split them up, vertical and horizontal. And then when you're ready to just adhere everything, you can do that while you're not having to concentrate so hard. Okay, let's move on to set B. I'll take everything out of the pocket, and then I did set aside my large card panels because they're 12 inches wide. So yes, here we go. Now, the reason I had you score this one right side up is that the bump of the score belongs on the inside of the fold, and I want the print to be on the inside of the card because the outside gets so covered. And with these trifold cards, I recommend you fold the 3-inch flap first so that there is a crease. Then take the other flap and tuck it in and then make the crease because it's going to just give you a little bit of an adjustment. So again, the bump of the score goes on the inside of the fold. And then with the crease in place, tuck the other flap down inside. This is if you want the 3-inch flap on the outside of the card base, which I do. And just continue on folding the remaining cards in the same manner. So 3-inch side goes in. And obviously I've gone ahead and organized all of those pieces from the pocket in a nice little order. Then we'll turn to page 5 of our instructions and distribute our card bases first. So it looks like I've got this deep green, all of the cards are vertical, and then white, and then the ivory inside out. Okay. Craft, manila, and sea green. Or perhaps I will put them in 2 rows of 3. That way we can keep our camera a little closer to the project and we can see what's going on. So dark green, white, print inside out, craft, manila, sea green. So at this point we can take our largest panels. We'll add a sea green to the white and a sea green to this ivory. An ivory to the craft, an ivory to the manila, and an ivory to the other sea green. Now on this dark green one, I've added the white panel to the inside of the card so that you have a writing surface. Again, we do try to think of these things ahead. Now we can add a second green panel to the craft, manila, and sea green in this bottom row. Now we can distribute these lovely panels. So I'm going to do a print. Now this fits right on top of that card flap, but it might not stay there. So I'm going to move it inside. Then I'll add a craft flap here. That's going to go fit there. Craft, and then print, print, print. Some of these cards just got a little extra strip. So I'm going to place this one with this one here. This card will get the wider strip. And then this one will get the skinnier strip. And, you know, again, it's totally artist's choice, right? It's your own darn card. Make it however you like. Now, we have these smaller nesting panels. These are going to be for the sentiments that go on the outside of the card. So I'm going to start with sea green here. Ivory. Ivory. Sea green. Sea green. And ivory. Now each card gets a left flap sentiment, a right flap, and an inner. So this one starts out with life is a journey here, and then and love makes that journey worthwhile. And we'll just do the larger ones. The next one is having a place to go is home, having someone to love is family. Back to life is a journey on this one, and love makes the journey worthwhile. Then having a place to go is home, having someone to love is family. That goes with the craft. And again, it can be distributed anywhere. Then may your walls know joy and every window open to great possibility. A perfect marriage is just two imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. Those go in that one. Now, the innie. How about happy anniversary? Then we need having both is a blessing. And another happy anniversary, and another having both is a blessing. And then how about a congratulations? And then here's to many more anniversaries. So there you go. There's all, look at all this. It's like envelopes of amazingness. Yeah. I mean, it would just take, to make these cards one at a time, it would take hours and hours and hours. I'm not sure if you've ever spent hours on a card. I try not to do that. I really, really do. So let's go ahead and just make one of these together so you can see how easily this falls into place. And I'm going to begin, since there's really no ribbon on this one, we don't have to worry, at least on this panel. And we can just center that up onto that flap, the 3-inch flap here. And then if you would like, you can go ahead and add this larger flap to the inside. Now I did add a little strip of craft scrap to this as an anchoring point, but I'm going to skip that for now and just simply finish with the greeting. So make sure you keep everything from pocket D handy so that you can accent the insides of your cards easily. Okay, so now that's kind of coming together nicely. Now what about this guy? I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on him. And I probably used my bookbinding glue for this because I used the 1/2-inch ATG tape, and this is just probably the same width. But I'm going to close this and align this just a little bit away from the edge of that flap. Do you see? It just adds a little bit. It's so nice. Okay, now life is a journey. There's a little space here, so I'm going to grab some ribbon and some fabric scissors, and I'm going to fold a piece of ribbon in half so that it's long enough that if folded in half, I'd still have enough to wrap around to the back if I have the loop of the ribbon at the center of the card. I guess either way, just so that you can wrap the whole thing around. Then I'm going to trim a second piece of the same length. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this ribbon in half. This is a little ribbon trick here. I'm going to place the loop of the ribbon at the center of my cut apart and wrap it around to the back. And I have some tape always ready to tape that down. Well, isn't that fun? I didn't make a mistake. This is really intentional. Now I'm going to thread the other ribbon through that loop and then pull. Bring that around to this side and tape it down. While I have it facing the wrong way up, I'll add some adhesive and nest it onto that perfectly beautiful panel. Then don't get all happy with your adhesive, because remember this is like a half flap, so we want to make sure that this is placed just on the flap, and if you put adhesive on the whole thing, it'll be sealed forever and no one can ever look at the sentiment in the inside. So I'm just going to put adhesive on the left side of the back of that panel, and you can place it wherever you like, right here. That's pretty. Now, the critical thing is just to pay attention to where you place the inner sentiment in a similar spot is ideal. So now this one I can have adhesive on the whole thing. And you really just want to make sure that this is concealed by that flap. Now, whether you use one of our little grid rulers or whatever you've got to do to make sure that you don't surpass the height of this, or it's going to be visible when the card is closed, and we don't want that. So if I just use my grid ruler to help me with some placement, just to make sure this is hidden by this flap. Nice. Life is a journey, and love makes that journey worthwhile. Happy anniversary. I would love to give this card to anyone. It's beautiful. All of the cards in this set are constructed in the same way. So here is my original. You can see it's the same with the exception of the addition of that sweet little craft strip. Now this was a scrap. This would have been in the scrap pile, but I used all of my scraps on the insides of my card. Now don't forget, we have some beautiful goodies in this collection. So this ribbon was added, of course, just by tying a knot into the ribbon, securing the ends on the back, and then just add one of those beautiful stickers. What a difference that makes on this card. And again, having that beautiful print on the inside is pretty cool. Here again, just a little knot formed in the ribbon with that wide dark green satin. This was centered. I used my grid ruler to help me find the center of the panel, and it is exactly a ½ inch from the top and centered. So just keep that in mind if you really want to be particular. There's like one of those little scraps anchoring my inner sentiment, which I really, really like. Okay, so I only have 3 of each card sample. Sometimes Karen stashes those other the remaining 6 away, or so they don't get up feet and walk away. So I'm not sure where she put them, and she's out of the office because it's late at night. And we're moving on to set C. I'll set aside all these pieces and empty that final pocket. And as always, you can go ahead and begin by folding your card bases in half by burying the bump. And again, because you are working with some heavier weight papers, you may want to burnish each fold carefully with a bone folder. You can turn to page 6 in your instructions. And I think the really nice part about these instructions is that I have added a photo of each individual innie inside of every single card, so you can see how I incorporated those extra, pocket D pieces that may not have found a home otherwise. So here we go with our card bases. It looks like we've got the print here and a manila to start. And I know it's going to be off camera a little bit. We'll have one more vertical. It's going to be green. All right, there we go. These larger cards get a little hard. And then I think we're going to have the ivory and the white and the print. Now, like we did before, if you wanted to put the prints inside out so that the print is on the inside, that's totally fine. Just because the panels we're nesting with are pretty large and really hide that beautiful print that I can't hardly bear to see it covered. So you're not going to like that, right? Here we have this pretty floral on the top there. That looks super. Ooh. This one, we can make sure the text is right side up. So I'm going to put the white on the ivory, and I added some embossed texture to this. If you have some greenery or something simple that you want to use, have at it, of course. And then with the next one, I did the same thing with the green on the white, and then I have the ivory on the ivory print. Let's put a white strip on this manila card. Then a manila on this next one. Ivory here. Then a dark green on the white. We have this lovely print here and here as well to just kind of warm things up over there. Wow, we have so many awesome panels to work with. I can't even believe it. I love, love, love it. Okay, so again, keeping your sort by size, we can have some nesting panels. So we have a print here with a white panel. Then we have a larger white panel with incorporating that a dark green, smaller one. Nest. Look at that nesting. Ooh, makes me so happy. Everything fitting perfectly. Then manila with one of these little printed guys. Should nest right on there. These cards get prettier and prettier as we go. And then we have a print with a smaller manila. Then ivory with a smaller print. Then green with a smaller ivory. Wow, look at all of that. That's so beautiful and fits to a T. Okay, now you have a series of some vertical and horizontal narrow sentiments. So you just pick your verticals. Another year and still going strong. This has the word love, and then true love, then to love, laughter, and happily ever after, a good marriage, and may your home. Okay, last but not least, the insides. We're going to go with happy anniversary here. A long congrats here. So happy you have each other with this one. A cheers with this guy. So happy for you both, and congratulations. Ta-da! There they are, all 18. Oh my gosh, all 18 cards. It's just kind of unbelievable. And there aren't really any super special activities that occurred to make these cards happen. So I'll just review the 3 samples that I have here of this card set, so that you can see how the texture works in that background. That's so pretty. If you're going to be adding ribbon, make sure you plan ahead before you start adding those strips. I did wrap several of them with ribbon and then added the beautiful little self-adhesive pearl stickers. This one, oh, another favorite. Here we have the greenery stickers, and then look how I attached this love. Just loop that ribbon around the top, and this is against the strip here or the panel, and then bring it around the bottom as well. So 2 pieces of ribbon attach this, and no adhesive required. Here, just a very simple stretch of ribbon, and then add a bow to it to make that look beautiful. The other cards are constructed in almost exactly the same manner, so we won't spend any time reviewing all of those, but you get the idea. 18 gorgeous cards. You've got the envelopes right in the card kit, so you can have these ready to go. If you're like me, I'm usually writing the check right on my way out the door, and I need a card, so now I'm ready for the next special occasion. I can't wait to start getting together with people and celebrating nuptials and other fun events. So I hope you enjoy this beautiful card kit. If you are a scrapbooker and want to make other projects, we also have the Ever After page kit. It includes the same beautiful prints and all the items that you need to complete your pages as well. And I have a video. So I will see you over there, and enjoy your card making adventures. I'll see you next time.